Bismillah. In the first subtopic, we are going to explore developing traditional assessment, namely the understanding is pen and paper assessment. So inshallah, we are going to explore one of a few of the most common types of question, which are MCQ question or multiple choice question and AC items. Okay, and under AC item we have brief response item as well as extended response item, and I believe that these are among the most common types of questions and item under the traditional assessment. However, if there are any kind of type of question that is actually not covered here, they are advanced courses, specifying or specializing in elaborating on those particular types of assessment that are available under the training of Center for Professional Development division, inshallah. Now, MCQ or multiple choice question, MCQ are selected response type of assessment in which students are required to select a correct or best answer from a number of choices. This is an example of the anatomy of an MCQ question. So the question part, or the statement part here is what we call the stem, and the choices we call it as the options, and the correct answer we call it as the key, and the incorrect answer we call it as distractors or foils. This is to highlight there are different kinds of MCQ question. Like this one here, we call it as a question because it has a statement of a question here, like which of the following instructional strategies is considered instructivist in nature. So as you can see here, this is the use of a question. While another form, for an MCQ question, this is an example of incomplete statement form, whereby a sentence is written and then there's a blank there, and students need to choose which of the choices option is the key or the answer that fits nicely into the sentence. This is what we call an incomplete statement form. Now, in writing the stem, now that we know what's a stem, what's an option, what's a key, and what's a distractor, so in writing the stem, so here just to show you again, stem refers to the stimulus of the question. We should make sure that the stem or the question assess the learning outcome that is intended for. And this one, since this is the next part of the conceptual phase, right? You need to refer to the conceptual phase. That means that when developing the question, you have to refer to the TTS, table of test specification. So according to the TTS, question number 1 have to test CLO1, let's say for example there. So when writing the stem, you want to make sure that the question test properly or measure properly students' ability to fulfill CLO1. So in developing the assessment, the TST and the CAP must be consulted. Right, the second one is that the stem should be clearly written, in simple and precise language. Avoid ambiguous or vague or bombastic words that are not required unless it is relevant, such as English language test. That one would be relevant if the learning outcome is to test the vastness of students' vocabulary, for example. Other than that, if the learning outcome is to test basic understanding, we should keep it simple, clear, and precise. Positive form, when writing the positive form, like for example here I want to use the same stem here, positive form here. This is an example of a positive form, of question here. This one is also a positive form question here. If I were to compare of the negative form, that means you have negative words, right? For example, which of the following are not instructional strategies? They are not listed here, so it's very sometimes negative can confuse student, and therefore may test students tricky question skills more than the learning outcome, right? So the point here on positive form here is that do not write with double negatives or negative statement that is not negative means the use of not or except depending on situation. Okay, so if you think that the question does not require students to detect the negative form there, then just put it in a more direct form. So instead of asking which of the following is not part in the Prime Minister's office. Okay, so but your main idea is you want to want students to identify the parts of the office of a particular institution. So you just say which of the following is among the office under the Prime Minister office, for example. Okay, so that is what we mean by positive form. But there are some cases whereby negative is required, but just choose, just ask yourself whether it's needed or not, okay, to test the learning outcome. The next word, okay, a negative word should be emphasized. Though this comes after the positive form. Let's say you want to ask, okay, you want to ask in negative form. So let's say, for example, which of the following are not instructional strategies, for example, and you want to ask that. Okay, so the word not there, you should actually bold it or underline it depending on the format that the kuliah has done. Sometimes certain kuliah, they build, okay, they write a certain guideline on how to format the question. So the main point here is that if there is negative words used, make sure that the words is emphasized. Emphasized means, for example, either the negative word is bolded or underlined. Okay, for example, the word accept is bolded and underlined. The word but is bolded and underlined, for example. Or bolded or underlined, bolded and underlined, depending on the formatting guidelines by your kuliah or department. The next one of consideration of writing the stem is that it should not contain clues to the answer. Okay, it should test students on, you know, their ability to understand and remember the required concepts being tested. And the last one is that it should include the most most wording. In this case here, for example, the word is, okay, should not be in all the option. Okay, so let's say this is a bad example. In learning theory that propagates the use of drill and practice as an instruction strategy, and then you straight away put blank, and then is behaviorism, is cognitivism, is constructivism. So you want to reduce wording in the choices or option, and then put as much wording in the stem. So that's what it means by including the most wording. Now, in writing the option, there must be one correct answer. The distractors should not be trivial. Okay, like for example, in this case here, you make it trivial that they are not part of the key concept in the topic. Okay, for example, these are example of trivial item, yeah, like B, I read there, so the correct answer is drill and practice. Then B, I said chicken and fish, let's say, for example. C, drill and beats, let's say, okay. And then D, practice and exercise, right? So these are all trivial example of distractors. So make sure that the distractors are something that is students would consider as part of the answer, but it's actually not the correct answer. So that's what it means by distractors should not be trivial. It should be important based on the topic. It should be parallel. That means the form of the word should be parallel. As you can see here, these are all parallel. That means mostly concepts. Isms concept and social learning is also equivalent to ism concepts as well. So that's what it means by parallel. It should be of similar length. One option should not be very long, as it can give a clue that that might be the key of the answer. The option should not have, one of the options should not have all or none of the above option, and it should be independent from one item to another. Okay, so meaning to say that the MCQ question should not be dependent on another question. For example, you don't ask based on your answer in the previous question, choose the next answer related to your previous answer from the previous question. So that one is a bad question and should not happen. Okay, so this is what it means by question should be independent from any other items. There should not be a chain question. Okay, in order to answer, let's say, in order to answer question 10 correctly, student must answer question 9 correctly. That's not supposed to be the case. Okay, so question 9 is independent from question 10. Okay, so that is supposed to be the idea there. And these are among the few in elaboration of the advantages of disadvantages of the MCQ question. So advantages is that you can cover more topics. It can measure higher order thinking depending on the design. It can be objectively scored because there's only one correct answer, and efficiently scored as well because it requires less time to mark. The disadvantage is that good distractors, not making it trivial here, are hard to construct. It takes time to construct. It depends on learning outcome that you are testing there. So MCQ usually test students understanding as well as choosing, right? So it doesn't test certain skills such as writing or expressing through language. MCQ question requires more time to read. So if you have more long MCQ question, you have to consider the time given to students, whether it's enough or not. And the last one is there's also a risk whereby if students get it correct, there might be a case whereby 25% of the case is that students get it correct. It's possible that students do not know the knowledge, but they can get 25% correct because of the MCQ question is susceptible to guessing. Okay, so they have a 25% of getting it correct, whether or not they achieve the learning outcome. So that's among the risks, okay, that is actually willing to consider when using MCQ question. Inshallah, for the next video, we're going to explore the essay items.